What is up, you guys? This is going to be my first motorcycle tutorial. This is specifically for a sports bike only. What I'm going to demonstrate to you guys is how to ride a bike, how to start it up, what it is you should do, what it is that you shouldn't do, and you have to know the cockpit. The cockpit is basically this. This is your cockpit, your tachometer, your speedometer. This is your odometer. These are the gauges. This is the fluid for the rear, I believe. No, this is the fluid for the front brake. This is your ignition, of course, where you insert your key, you turn it on, you turn it off, you lock your bike, etc. This is your kill switch. This is your kill switch. This is your electric starter button. I will show you in a moment how to start up the bike. This is your throttle. This is your front brake. This is your clutch. You pull it in. This is your low and your high beam. This is your left and right signal turn. And whenever you turn, some bikes don't have the automatic turn off, so what you have to do is you press it in and it turns off your signals. And then at the very bottom is the horn. And of course, this is your gas tank here. I have a carbon fiber. So let's get started. So first, what you want to do is, ladies over here looking at me like, what are you doing? So first thing you want to do is you want to insert the key into your ignition. What you want to do is go ahead and turn it on. Now, since mine is fuel injected, I don't need to warm it up. Well, the owner's manual says you should warm it up. You shouldn't throttle it too much or accelerate too hard when it's cold, because eventually it'll start to deteriorate or mess up your engine or whatnot. So once it's on, make sure that your kill switch is on and you start it up with the starter button. Once that is done, you have to know how to pop it into first gear and how to ride off. Like I said, it's always good to warm up the bike first. If yours is carbureted, you should have a carburetor right here, which you flip it up all the way and you let the bike warm up for maybe about 2 to 3 minutes, or maybe even 5 minutes. And then from there you turn it back down, and then from there it should run at a normal pace or at a normal idle. So what you want to go ahead and do is you pop in the clutch, you pop it into first gear, and you're gonna hear that noise. I don't know if you guys heard it or not. So now before you go, what I suggest is you get used to where your friction zone is. Everybody's friction zone is different. Every bike is different. So before you even want to accelerate, you make sure where your friction zone is. Now, what the friction zone is, for those of you who do not know, it's basically where the power engages to the rear wheel. So let me show you where my friction zone is. You start it off by letting it off slowly, and once you feel the bike starting to move, that's where your friction zone is, which is right about there. You see, I'm not moving the throttle, the bike is moving by itself. So I suggest you get really used to your friction zone, to where it is, before you even want to take off. Because if you're not used to your friction zone, this is basically what might happen. Is basically you might start accelerating too hard, and then you might start burning your clutch, and if God forbid, you might even lift up the bike, and then you might get hurt. So you get used to the friction zone. The friction zone is basically where the bike starts to walk. You walk with it, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, until you're used to it. And then once you're used to it, you can go and you can put your feet on the pegs and it'll start going by itself. You see? I'm not even using throttle. So that's the friction zone. So yeah, you get used to the friction zone. Once you're used to the friction zone, you start giving it a little bit of gas. It depends, like I said, it depends on the bike. Sports bike tend to be a little bit more, the throttle response is a little bit more, how should I say this? It's a little bit more, it responds pretty much faster. You see what I mean? So you get used to the friction zone. Once you're used to the friction zone, like I said, you put your foot on the pegs, and once you feel comfortable, you start to give it gas or throttle. And then from there, what you do is you disengage the throttle, you pop in the clutch, and you pop it into second gear. Some of you may pop it into neutral, and that's okay. You just stop, and then you do the same process again until you pop it into second. I'm not even supposed to be riding on this lane because this is only a bike lane. So yeah, that's what you do at first. Just get to know your motorcycle. Especially if you're a first timer. I was a first timer as well. I had to get used to the friction zone, to how the throttle body responded when I gave it throttle, or when I opened up the throttle. When I opened up the throttle, let's see, is there anything else? For those of you who are gonna go to the DMV and actually take the test, I've never done that. I took the MSF course, so that voided the driving test at the DMV. So the only thing that was required of me was to take the written. That's another topic, actually. For those of you who do not know and want to get your motorcycle license, well, I don't know how it is in other states, but here in California, the law is, for those of you who are 21 and under, or 20 and under, if I should say, you have to take the MSF course. It's by law that you have to take it. You take it, you pay $150. That's how much I paid. It's probably about 3 to 4 hours lecture in a room. And then I think it's 2 days later. I can't remember exactly. 2 days later, it's the writing session. It's usually on a weekend. It's usually very in the morning or later on in the afternoon. What they teach you there is basically what I'm trying to show you. Where is everything in the cockpit? How to start it up, how to get used to the bike. Let's see. They tell you to sit on the bike for a while to get used to the weight. They have you rock it to the side like that. They have you rock it to the side, left and your right, just to see how heavy the bike is for you. And of course, remember this, that you're starting on a 250 at the lesson on that day. You're not starting off on a 600, God forbid. But so yeah, they teach you the stuff. They teach you where is this, where is that, and then from there they teach you the friction zone, what I just taught you. They say you should have about a dime's worth of free play, which is, I can't remember, maybe about 5 millimeters. I can't remember, so don't quote me on that. The front brake, of course, like I said, this is the brake fluid that connects to the front brake, so make sure you always look at that. So yeah, some people are very fast learners, others are not very fast learners, so you have to be patient with them if you are going to be showing somebody how to ride a motorcycle, or how to even get it going, how to start it up, etc. So yeah, I suggest for those of you who are barely learning, it doesn't matter where you're learning on, a 250. I wouldn't suggest a 600, but if that's the only option you have, then a 600. Is that you get used to the friction zone. This is the tachometer, like I said, that is the revolutions per minute. It tells you how fast the camshaft is rotating per minute. That's a long story. You have to divide that. For me, in my cockpit, this is where the speedometer is. This tells me how fast I'm going. This is my odometer. Tells you how many miles I have on the bike. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is the left turn signal. This is neutral. This is the high beam. That's the right turn signal. That is the oil. That is the check engine, and that is the gasoline. So yeah, these are all the gauges that are on my bike. My bike doesn't have a gauge where it tells you how much gasoline is left. So what basically happens is my gasoline light comes on. It's usually the color yellow, and it tells you that you have about less than a gallon left. So keep that in mind. Let's see. As far as that's basically everything that I know. So yeah, guys, this is just from my own personal experience. There might have been a few stuff that I left out on here. As far as the front brake, you guys, the front brake is really sensitive. So make sure that you do not press it really hard, because it might lift you up from the back. It might lift up from the back. Or you might lose control because of too much pressure that's being put onto the front. So I suggest you get used to the front brake as well. The rear brake, it's down here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's the rear brake. They say in the MSF course that you're supposed to use both the front and the rear brake simultaneously for better stopping power. Because I don't know if you guys know, but the brake disc from the rear is actually much smaller than it is in the front. The rear brake, I think it's about 210 millimeters. I'm not sure, I can't remember how many millimeters it is. And the front one is about 310, 320 millimeters. So it's really a huge difference. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I hope this was a good help for you guys. Like I said, every bike is different, but majority of the bikes, the newer models that are fuel injected, like I said, they don't have a carburetor here. So you just let it warm up before you take off. Like I said, it's always good to warm it up. Get used to your friction zone. Get used to your friction zone. See where the power engages, disengages. You might stall, don't worry about that. You just start it back up. If you're in first, remember that if it stalls on you and you're in first, you have to pop in the clutch and then start it again. And if that doesn't work, then move the paddle up to neutral, and then it should start right away without you holding in the clutch. People say that it's good to use the kill switch. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I guess it's personal preference. So I really don't know. Sometimes when I'm in a hurry, I just turn it off like that. I don't know if it's good for the engine or not, or whatever.